The TV and the news are full about Penn State and the assistant coach who was molesting young boys. It was Joe Paterno's assistant, and they fired Joe Paterno this morning. Well, it's easy to condemn that man, and the man is absolutely wrong for what he did because he's destroyed a lot of lives. But maybe we're looking at the wrong place for the solution. Several years ago, I was doing a retreat for Kairos up in a South Georgia prison. There was a man there who had written and published 3 books from prison, had an expensive pair of glasses on. It's West Palm Beach, money. I walked up to him and I said, "You're going to have a hard time with Christianity." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because you're not near as smart as God is." I said, "What's your problem?" He said, "My wife was with another man 2 weeks after I got arrested, and we've been married for over 20 years. I said, "She's been wanting to leave you for a long time." I said, "What's your real problem?" He said, "I've got a monster in me." I said, "Well, I've dealt with a few monsters. Let's go back to the back room and pray." And I said, "Tell me about it." He said, "Well, my daddy sexually molested me. They sent me off to a private school, and the priest finished me off. He said, for 30 years I've had this thing growing in me, and trust me, it gets worse every year. Telling me to do this to somebody else." He said, "I never have. But," he said, "take your strongest sexual desire and multiply it times 2, and that's what I face every day of my life." I prayed for him, and that demon came out of him, and he looked me right straight in the face, and he said, "I never knew I could be free." Those words have never left me. How many men in his shape that have been to church and everywhere else know they can be set free? Well, anyway, that night at the retreat, they asked me to serve communion. Well, I'm really not a preacher, but they asked me to serve it. And so I said, "No, that's not my thing." I said, "My communion is God speaks to me. I need to break those words down and nourish them for nourishment. I need to pour His love on top of it." But anyway, the warden's husband was a pastor, and he asked me to serve the grape juice. So I had this grape juice in this cup, and they were going to come dunk the bread in, and I was going to say my godly little words, "Jesus' blood shed for you." But God spoke to me, and I didn't like what He said. And I want to say He spoke gently, but it wasn't gently at all. He said, "Billy, you don't appreciate this stuff." And I thought, "What do you mean?" He said, "This is the blood of my new covenant. It has the power of the Holy Spirit in it that raised me from the dead. This blood has life. Don't drink it unworthily." In fact, he said, "Billy, that blood was given to set people free just like that man." He said, "Don't you ever come back up here and play church with me again." I might have played a little bit, but I'll quit playing, as you will see on these videos. Jesus is serious about what He said, and He's serious about the Holy Spirit. In fact, He says, "You can talk about me, you can talk about my Father, but you better be careful what you say about the Holy Spirit." And that's the power that raised Jesus from the dead. That's the power that got that demon out of that man, and the power should be operating through every one of us as Christians. You know, the sad part is, where is the man that's been molested and got all this stuff in him supposed to go to find freedom? Would your church help him? Would you preachers or list? Would you help him get the demon out? Or would you counsel him and tell him to go be a good little boy, like most of them do, if they ever find a place? Of course, they're not going to open up if they know there's not a solution, and there's really no reason to, because all they do is fight it in the flesh, and we all know that Jesus says you can't win a battle in the flesh. You have to have the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, to take that stuff out of you, and it's called a demon. Demon. And they're demons in Christians. Jesus died to set that man free. He didn't die to tell him how to live with it. So is the problem the man? Is the problem the church? I think it's both. But the predominant problem falls on groups that call themselves Christians that are not representing the power of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, which is the Holy Spirit. In fact, 2 Timothy 3:5 is real clear about that. It says they have Jesus as their profession. They are strangers to his power. Their conduct belies Jesus their faith. They act like godly people. They may have on coats and ties and preach firm sermons all over the world. He says have nothing to do with them. I'm going to tell you another man. I haven't got the article in my hand, but I've got it at the house. It's about the most prominent family, Christian family in America. It's Billy Graham's family. He had a son, Ned, and the name of the article was "There's Trouble on Praise Mountain." Ned was molested, and he suffered depression, went to psychiatrist, went through a divorce, and he found a bunch of crazies that believed in dealing with the real things in people's lives rather than trying to tell them to be good in their own strength. And he said there was little Ned. He was a Christian, but I had a hierarchy of demons in me. And I spit them out, and they came out, and I'm free. Jesus Christ died to set people free like that man. And us that call ourselves Christian leaders need to take responsibility for what's happening in this world and around us to bring about the resurrection of Christ in people's lives like that assistant coach. Now, he does have a choice, but it's up to us to offer them the freedom where they know they can be free, and not everybody's going to be free. I do prison ministry with men. 70% of the men in prison have been sexually molested. That demon's in them. They drink, they do all kind of crazy stuff. We lock them up with a demon in them, with a group of demons, and after a period of time, hope to get out, the demon's not as strong. Let's get real. The spirit world is real. If we're going to call ourselves Christians, we need to be operating in the power of the Holy Spirit. 25% of Jesus' ministry was casting out demons. And if you're sitting in a pulpit and you never cast out a demon, you better run out there because you are not representing Jesus Christ.